What's going on, guys? This is MrTeej66 Movie Reviews. I am Mr. Teej. Today, I will be reviewing Justice League. Now, I'm a little late with this review. I actually saw it last weekend, but I didn't have a chance to get around to reviewing it until now due to mostly personal problems or stuff, things like that I had to deal with. But here it is, and this movie is pretty good. It's getting ripped apart by critics, no surprise, and it is hardly perfect. There's a lot of flaws in it, but I walked out, shaking my head, nodding my head, going, okay, DC is starting to learn. They're starting to, because there are times this movie feels like a Marvel film, in its pacing and its humor, and that's a good thing. The casting is spot on, top to bottom. I thought, Henry Cavill, if anyone who complains that he didn't feel like Superman in the first two DCU films he was in, they can lay those claims to rest, because he is Superman in this movie, just character-wise. The CGI digitally removing his mustache, it was pretty noticeable in some shots, though, I do have to say, but acting-wise, pretty solid. He's got probably the best action sequences of the film, because he's Superman. Ben Affleck does a solid job as Batman, or Bruce Wayne. He's not the greatest version of the character, but I think all the haters need to relax. I think he does a very solid job. He's got the brooding sort of, quality down, and, he's the most vulnerable of all the characters because he's human. He doesn't have any real superpowers, and, although he does have a sense of humor, too. Gal Gadot continues on from the Wonder Woman movie, and she knocks it out of the park. She is, very strong, very charismatic. It's going to be hard for anyone to top, if they ever have to recast this part, man, they're going to have some big shoes to fill. The actor who plays Cyborg, I forgot his name, he does a solid, he does decently, although his character is kind of the least developed of all of them, I thought, but for what he's given, he does a good job. Ezra Miller is the scene stealer in this movie for me as the Flash. He is hysterical. His one-liners are just, that's one of the things that the DCU films have been, criticized for not having a lot of humor. Oh, they definitely add a lot of humor, and a lot of it is due to him. His sarcastic one-liners. It definitely feels like Joss Whedon had the biggest hand in, reshaping this character, because, it just feels like a Whedon, his dialogue is just very Whedon-esque. I love the special effects for his character, too. How, lightning flashes whenever he goes into super speed mode. I don't quite understand why that happens, but, hey, that's totally fine. And Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I actually liked him. He was the character from the trailers I was worried about the most. It's not even remotely like Aquaman from the comics. Or at least the ones I've read, or the Superfriends show, but he plays it kind of almost like a roadie of a rock band. He drinks a lot. It's just like, yeah, my man, But ultimately, it becomes very endearing. The action sequences are pretty good. They're shorter than in either Man of Steel or Batman v Superman, so you have to give Zack Snyder credit. He's learning. You can't just pound and pound and pound and pound with action scenes. It has to, they can get boring and repetitive after a while, so that was great. The team has some great chemistry together. They really work well as a unit. There isn't as much of it as you would think there is, team interaction-wise, but what's there was pretty solid, and I was nodding my head going, okay, this is good. Some of the supporting actors are good, too. We have Amy Adams as Lois Lane. She gets some stuff to do, and what's-her-face as Ma Kent. Diane Lane as Ma Kent. She gets some stuff to do. So, overall, yeah, this movie was a fun ride. However, it is not perfect. And without a doubt, the biggest flaw of this movie is the choppy storytelling. It goes from here to here to here to here to here to here to here. Sometimes there's just not really any flow to it. It's a series of stuff that just happens, and a lot of expositional dialogue, which is just dumped, into entire scenes, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense. There were so many points where I was like, okay, why are we here again? I don't understand. I don't get it. The villain, he's been getting ripped on a lot by a lot of the critics, and I can understand why. He is kind of generic, just a big, I am, Steppenwolf, I will destroy the world. But it's a valid criticism. I thought he was a competent, villain, nothing too great, and the CGI in his character was kind of bad. In fact, a lot of the CGI in this movie is really cheap looking. I'm really shocked. It had a budget of over $300 million, and you'd think the CGI would be a lot better, but it does look cheap and rushed, and everything. And, while I thought there was enough character stuff to, make me endear me to the characters, I do wish there was a little more. The movie's like, I clocked it in at like an hour and 50 minutes, not including end credits, and that's a damn short movie. It's both good, because it moves along at a quick pace, but sometimes you really do feel like there are more character stuff that probably was left on the cutting room floor. I'm actually really interested in seeing the director's cut, because I think it's going to be even better. I guess the only other major issue, I said the choppy storytelling, that was a big one. I had to take off a couple points for the choppy storytelling, but overall, yeah, this movie was an improvement over some of the other DCU films. They're starting to learn, and there's a lot of humor, and that was great. It lightens the mood. Sometimes, because two directors directed this movie, as you probably all well know. Joss Whedon came in and did reshoots because Zack Snyder had a personal family tragedy. And I didn't think the scenes showed too much. There was a few scenes where I was like, okay, that's clearly a Whedon part, and this is clearly a Zack Snyder part, but I thought it gelled together good enough. But for rating-wise, I would give this movie a 7.1. It's a flawed film, to be sure, and there's still a lot of improvement that needs to be done, but I think DC's on the right track, so I would buy this on DVD. But anyway, that's my review of Justice League. This is MrTeej66, and I will see you next time.